avoid a $9 toll below 60th Street. But today's decision, an 11th hour legal attempt to pause the plan, failed. A little bit of history here now. You may recall over the summer, Governor Kathy Hochul indefinitely paused the plan, citing the financial burden for working class commuters. But then back in November, she indicated plans to resume congestion pricing. This happened after the election, but with a reduced base toll of $9 that was down from $15. Now, you can bet that there are going to be a lot of opinions about this ruling tonight. But first, let's go out to Derek Waller. He has been live outside MTA headquarters as we have been waiting to get the judge's decision there, federal judge in New York. And Derek, has there been any response from the MTA?
Christine, this ruling just coming down in the last few minutes, and the MTA did tell us earlier today that once this ruling came down and if they ruled in favor of New York, they would come outside and speak to the press. So we hope that that happens, and we are anticipating that will happen at some time later tonight. But no, they have not said anything yet in response to this ruling. But as you mentioned, the judge ruling in favor of New York, which means that congestion pricing will proceed this Sunday, January 5th, as the governor has been mentioning for so long now. And really, they were under the gun to get this done because of the election result in November, because Trump has said that he would kill this if he came into office. This required federal approval to get this done. It was approved by the Biden administration. And so after she put it on pause, you know, the clock was ticking. She had to get it done. So that's why January 5th was that date. Now, this last minute effort to try to stop this came from several plaintiffs in New Jersey, including the state of New Jersey, as well as the mayor of Fort Lee. And their basic argument was not anything that had to do with the reasoning behind congestion pricing. What they were arguing was semantics here, that the federal government and the city New York State botched the environmental review, basically saying that, you know, they were going to give money, mitigation money, for these communities that are going to see increased truck traffic because of this. And they specifically are giving the Bronx a specific amount of money, but did not give a specific amount of money to communities in New Jersey. So that was something that the judge said really needs to be fixed here. And so he gave them until January 17th to come up with a solution and clarify those points. The confusion came when he put out that 72-page decision early this week and didn't say whether or not this had any effect on the January 5th date. So that brought us to today and this ruling and the judge's decision here. And obviously it took several hours to get it, but obviously finally ruling in favor of New York. So again, congestion pricing starting this Sunday, $9 at peak times, which is from 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. weekdays, 9 to 9 on weekends, and then it's 75% less on the weekends. And I'm actually, we've got the spokesperson from the MTA who may tell us something about when this presser is about to start. So we're going to go talk to him, and I'll send it back to you in the studio, Christine.
Okay, Derek, let us know when that happens, and of course we'll bring that to you when it does. In the meantime, inside the courtroom as that judge made the decision was our Christine Sloan, and she joins us now live at the federal courthouse in Newark. She just left the courtroom after that ruling was made. Christine, I suppose the reaction from the plaintiffs must have been devastating.
Well, absolutely. As you can see behind me, cameras are set up to talk to both sides. Now, sources tell me, and the attorneys for New Jersey tell me, that they will file an appeal in Philadelphia to appeal this case. And as Derek was just saying, the judge ruling in favor of New York, a long 4 hours of waiting for both sides. He took each side into his chambers separately, then he took them in together. So for everybody who was in there, a long night of just waiting. And the judge basically saying, you know, look, I never said congestion pricing could not go through, that it was a limited remand to tell the federal government and the MTA to basically come up with mitigation factors. And the judge saying that New Jersey failed to prove its case, that the residents of New Jersey, especially those who live in the Fort Lee area, would suffer from congestion pricing. So an extraordinary night here in Newark. The courtroom, everything was shut down. Nobody could get up into the courthouse. We were just the reporters in there, the judge and both sides. So at this point, congestion pricing will go through. But again, attorneys representing New Jersey tell me they will file an appeal, an emergent appeal in Philadelphia court. Christine?
Christine, can you give us any context as to why the appeal would be filed in Philadelphia? Have you been able to figure that out?
Yes, Christine, you know, there's a certain amount of appeal courts in our country. So the closest appeal court is in Philadelphia. That's where New Jersey would file its appeal. Now, I was talking to attorneys before the decision, and I was told that the minute the decision comes in, they will be filing this. And of course, Randy Mastro, who is leading the team here in New Jersey, you know, asked the judge. He said, "Look, this is the weekend. We only have a day before this. What court will hear us at this point?" He asked for an extra 5 days. Well, the judge said, "Look, I've been making calls to the Court of Appeals, and they're ready to hear your case." But of course, there is no guarantee that New Jersey will be able to stop congestion pricing from going into effect. Now, I did speak to attorneys, and they told me they're prepared to take this all the way up to the Supreme Court.
All right, well, with less than 48 hours before the tolls get into effect, I'm not so sure that that's going to happen as far as that argument goes, Christine.
Absolutely not, Christine.
Yeah, absolutely. But, you know, A for effort. They're continuing their fight for sure, Christine. Thank you for getting us this decision so quickly. We know that it's been a long day for you. And, of course, we'll be there once those attorneys exit that courtroom, and we're going to want to hear what they say. Christine, great reporting there tonight. We'll be checking back in with you. In the meantime, let's talk a little bit about this late night decision here on this Friday night, the judge's ruling. James Sample, once again, Hofstra University law professor. He joined us at the top of the hour. So now we know Judge Gordon's decision, James. What is your reaction? And how about this appeal to the court in Philadelphia?
So it's good to be with you again. And with respect to the appeal, let's take that part first. Christine's report just then indicating that the plaintiffs in this case, and Randy Mastro as counsel for them, will take it to, as she said, a court in Philadelphia. That is almost certainly a reference to the United States Court of Appeals for the Third Circuit. New Jersey, unlike New York, is in the Third Circuit, where New York is in the Second Circuit, in terms of the federal courts of appeals. And this is a federal district court judge who issued the ruling earlier today. And so if there were to be a venue for an emergency appeal of this order that it sounds like is going to be filed, it would be in the Third Circuit. The likelihood that the Third Circuit would step in and issue a stay within the next, wherever we are now, 36, 48 hours before the plan goes into effect it's possible. It seems relatively unlikely. It would definitely be the kind of thing that would only be done in emergent circumstances where there is an argument that there will be quote unquote irreparable harm if the court doesn't step in. Judge Gordon is saying that that's not the case. Essentially, his ruling on Monday, Christine, was thorough and indicated almost a wholesale victory for New York and for the MTA, other than just a couple of details. And essentially his ruling today indicates, by letting it go forward, that, you know, there are some modifications that may need to be made. There's some details that need to be provided, but that the vast, vast majority of the procedural hurdles have been cleared, and that only those that need to kind of be fixed a little bit, but not so consequential as to prevent the plan from going forward. That's the position of Judge Gordon in the federal district court.
Quickly, if you can, tell me about President Trump and his possible maneuver to get rid of congestion pricing once he takes office.
Yep, without a doubt, that is the date, January 20th, the inauguration day, that both sides here have been posturing and preparing for, given that the Biden administration approved this plan, Governor Hochul approved this plan, but President-elect Trump has indicated that he strongly disapproves of this plan. I think the goal for the MTA is to get this plan in effect so that Trump has to then turn around and undo it, which is a lot harder to do than preventing it from going into effect in the first place if it's not yet in effect when he takes office. The plaintiffs, on the other hand, are using Donald Trump's own playbook. I mean, we've talked in other contexts, delay, 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 and then if you can delay, you might actually be able to, in this case, deny not a jury verdict, but rather the plan from going into effect at all.
James Sample, Hofstra University law professor, as always, thank you for your insight in explaining the federal court process here to us at this late hour. As we continue to follow this breaking news on congestion pricing, we will, of course, continue to follow this as Christine gets more information from lawyers that will be speaking outside of the courthouse, outside the federal courthouse there this evening during this late hour on Friday night. You know, we've been waiting to get this judge's ruling regarding congestion pricing since 3 p.m. this afternoon, and finally it came down. And as for now, despite last-minute efforts by the state of New Jersey, congestion pricing will move forward this Sunday. In the meantime, let's get a look at our first alert forecast. We have some chances for snow coming up, so Craig Allen will tell us more about that. Craig.
All right, so that's what we'll talk about, not for tonight, and the weekend is going to be dry for you, but you can see that it is going to remain cold right through the rest of this week, and the 2 chances of snow, well, as I said, 1 this evening already out of the way. Tonight's low will drop to about 26 here in the city. Tomorrow gets up to about 33 for the afternoon high, just barely above freezing, and Sunday too, also right around or just slightly above the freezing mark. A brisk windy day, and it stays dry. Here's your problem. This is our first alert weather day here. There's going to be snow, and the storm system itself is going to stay basically south of the city. So right now we're expecting that the heavier snow amounts, and I mean, you know, we could be talking 3-6 inches of snow south of the city on Monday, 1 to 3 in and around the city, lower amounts the farther north you go. And then after that, it just stays in the 30s all the way through. So whatever snow does fall during the day on Monday is going to stick around a while. And unfortunately, this weather pattern looks like it's going to stick around not only through the rest of this week, but possibly even into next week as well. So we'll talk more about that as we go on, and we'll keep an eye on this system for the next at least 2 days. We'll get you through the upcoming weekend. As a matter of fact, I do want to show you that we have below normal temperatures that are going to continue right through the next several days here. And with that in mind, temperatures are likely to, whoops, I didn't want to get to the rainfall amounts there. But with that in mind, we can see that it is going to remain mostly cold right through the next few days, with temperatures that will only be in the 30s during the afternoon. Most of the snow will stay south of the city, the heaviest amounts, as I mentioned. But then with that in mind, more showers, more snow showers, that is, and areas of snow are likely across the region into the afternoon hours on Monday, and it may affect your Monday evening commute. That's the biggest thing that we're going to talk about as we go through the weekend. Christine?
All right, Craig, thank you for that, and thank you for joining us here at 8 o'clock. I'm Christine Johnson. Be sure to join us for the news at 11 o'clock. For Steve, Craig, and the entire CBS 2 News team, have a good night.
Really gratified that earlier this week, Judge Gordon in New Jersey rejected that state's claim that the environmental assessment, the 4,000-page document reflecting 5 years of work that had been approved by the federal government, they rejected the claim that it was deficient in some way. And today, the judge confirmed that ruling and denied New Jersey's effort to get an injunction to stop congestion pricing from starting tomorrow night. Listen, we've been studying this issue for 5 years, but it only takes about 5 minutes if you're in Midtown Manhattan to see that New York has a real traffic problem. Now, I recognize there's been a lot of controversy about this program, and there are a lot of people who are concerned about the impact of congestion pricing. To them, I want to say the point is to make the city better for everybody. We need to make it easier for people who choose to drive or who have to drive to get around the city, to spend less time in traffic. We need to make sure that ambulances can get to hospitals, which is not the case now. We need to make sure the air gets a little cleaner, and we need to make transit better for the 90% of New Yorkers who use transit to get around. So now, after untold numbers of lawsuits and lots of fighting in the press, the time for debating and lawsuits is over. It's time to get to work making this new initiative a success for New York. And I think we're ready. We're in an era where people started to believe that government is paralyzed, that government can't get anything accomplished. But I am proud that New York is going to implement a strategy that's been successful in other great world cities that have struggled with traffic, like London, Stockholm, Singapore, and that we're doing something to deal with the reality of the way that congestion is hurting our city and costing people time and money, that we're protecting the interests of New Yorkers from a health standpoint, cutting down on car crashes that injure pedestrians and cyclists, and also using the money that's generated to benefit the 90% of New Yorkers who do take transit, who use transit to get to the central business district. Let's not forget about them. Listen, change is hard. We know that. But we in New York have done it before. When I was growing up here in the city, nobody picked up after their dogs. Now New Yorkers are trained to do it. When Mayor Bloomberg implemented the ban in smoking in bars and restaurants, a lot of people said that New York nightlife was going to die. Go around the city on Saturday night. New York nightlife is out of sight. And even more recently, there was lots of controversy about the plastic bag fee even. And we got used to that too. Good things happen when we embrace change. And New Yorkers, and even New Jerseyites, a lot of whom come from New York originally or a generation ago, we adapt. We are resilient. We can do big things. Let's get started with doing this big thing. Thank you.
All right, any chance anybody has any questions? Yeah, Nolan Hicks from Streets Blog at this time. Nolan, right behind you, please.
You said the time for debate is done. New Jersey said they're going to appeal the rejection of their request for a temporary restraining order. It seems like the debate very much isn't finished, at least in the political sphere. Why do you think that is? Why do you think giving the MTA more funding has engendered such a negative response from the public?
Well, Nolan, I would just say that we heard for like the last year and a half about the lawsuits and how they're going to get stopped. And in the last 10 days, we've had 3 federal judges say no to the lawsuits, say yes to the way the MTA systematically studied this whole project, the implications. We studied every intersection, 2/3 of the way to Philadelphia. We studied air quality, county by county, census tract by census tract, traffic, and so on and so on. So we've done the work, and now the judicial system has said you complied with it you complied with the rules of the road every step, and we're about to implement. So people can go out and make more claims about legal process, but it's pretty clear that this is the moment we've been waiting for, and congestion pricing is starting.
I think it's fair to say the appeals court is sort of a long shot for New Jersey. So do you have any plans about how you're going to celebrate at 12:01 on Sunday morning?
Listen, Nolan, this is not celebration. This is the beginning of a process where we're serious about this. We want to make, we have, 100+ signs and, untold numbers of cameras and a lot of data that we're going to generate, and we're going to be watching it very closely. We're going to share it with the public. It's not going to happen overnight. So this is the beginning of a process, but the beginning of doing something about the impact of traffic on our city is a good thing to be beginning.
Anthony Carlos here from Channel 7 Eyewitness News. Anthony.
Thank you very much. Chairman, what do you say to those who continue to claim that this is just a cash grab by the MTA, and many of those people also feel that they don't feel particularly safe to use mass transit? I know you throw out the figure that the majority of people who commute in do, but we just had, a woman lit on fire and then a man shoved on the tracks. So what do you say in response to those people?
Well, listen, this is, I take, first of all, the couple of high-profile incidents that you mentioned are really alarming, and every New Yorker was shocked by those, shocked. But we also are keeping in mind that that there's a lot less crime than there used to be before COVID, and that between more cameras, more cops, and a ton more outreach workers, the governor in particular, as well as the mayor, are pushing back at some of the things that have contributed to the sense of disorder. But don't get me wrong, I am with those who want us to always be pushing back to restore full sense of order in the transit system, and we're not going to stop pushing until we get to a better place where people don't have those concerns.
All right, Derek Waller's here from CBS 2.
Yes, I wanted to read you a quote from the DSNY union president, Harry Nispoli. He says, "My members are going to realize that coming into work every day is going to cost them more money. Guys with seniority will start transferring out of Manhattan. This will definitely have an effect. This is just another tax on New Yorkers. Trump said he'll stop it. I'm waiting to see what he will do." Any thoughts on some of these city workers who say that this is going to cost them money?
Yeah, I mean, listen, the whole question is, look, first of all, if people are low income, they get a discount. So there are specific discounts for people who are at the low income end. But for people in broader terms, I'd say everybody understands that if you have to drive because your job makes you drive, that is a legitimate business expense you should take up with your employer. But for the majority of city workers and the majority of people who come to our central business district, which is a small number of the total employees of sanitation, they take mass transit. And for many of our city employees, they actually have free transit. So we're confident that after the controversy and some of the rhetoric passes, that people are going to go back to going about their business, but that might be an issue for labor negotiations at a future time.
Anybody else? Any closing thoughts, sir?
No. No. Okay.
Nolan has a closing thought.
Well, not a closing thought, a closing question. You said tomorrow is when the work starts. It's not when the celebration starts. When do you declare victory? When do you celebrate success?
I think what we all want to see is the impact on, hopefully, some of the impacts that are contemplated, reducing congestion, hopefully improving air quality. It's going to take a while for people to adjust their behavior. We all know that people don't adjust overnight to change, but we'd like to see those benefits for that if you have to drive, that you spend less time stuck in traffic, that buses move more quickly, and that the investments that we're going to make in the transit system start to benefit the 90% of people who do take transit.
One final question from Derek Waller. One last question.
I just want to know, we're talking about congestion. What are your thoughts about all of these Ubers that are driving around, that are circling, and they're certainly causing a lot of the congestion?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, Derek. That one of the important elements of this is to increase to have a fee on Ubers that will be equivalent to the individual driver fee because of the number of times they do rides in a day. So we are impacting on the Uber traffic, the for-hire vehicle traffic, and a little bit less on the taxis as well. They are part of the challenge, but we're dealing with them as part of this program as well.
Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. Thanks, everybody.
This has been breaking news.